You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the fourth part of What If Deku Enters Hazbin Hotel. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Mrotrax on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Izuku had thought he'd get a break after the USJ attack. Oh, how naive he was. For every rise, there must come a fall. When the Midoriya family returned home the next day after a lovely breakfast courtesy of Lunch Rush, some of the neighbors had wasted no time blaming Izuku for what had happened while others waited for him to leave UA and go into a life of ordinariness. Mother and son paid this no mind, Inko instead forcing her son to stay and rest as she waited on him hand and foot for the next 2 days. Her mind and heart were in the place of any loving mother, all can and could see, her baby nearly died protecting his classmates. He deserved it. Inko had surrounded him with nothing but love, kindness and his favorite shows as he healed up, refusing to even entertain the idea of anything sinful or negative. Unfortunately, by the time classes resumed, Izuku's wounds still ached and were in danger of opening again. The limited time he had been in hell had taken care of the worst bits, along with Baxter doing some light touch-ups while rambling about how society had fallen if it depended on a little old lady to heal everyone. Izuku had managed to slip off his headphones on the way to UA, hearing some worried, lustful or ignorantly wrathful thoughts that made the stinging in his form vanish, enabling him to walk as if things were normally. Upon entering UA however, he suddenly felt a massive burst of healing, so much negativity. And judging by the intensity of the initial burst, which seemed to be spreading in minute amounts, it came from one person. Whoever this was, Izuku made a mental note to check in on them and thank them. He felt almost fully healed. However, he kept his bandages on. Stepping inside, the entirety of Class 1A fell silent at the sight of their president, the bandages on his neck and arms most visible. Morning guys. Izuku weakly waved before his classmates surrounded him and began firing questions of concern at him. Prez. Kirishima and Siro beamed. Are you okay? Mina and Hitoshi asked, concern clear. How you feeling? Shoji followed up. Need some water? Momo asked, offering him a bottle. 12 years of being starved and now I'm getting too much of it. Izuku thought, a weak smile on his face as he tried to assure his classmates he was fine. Before anything else could be said, the door was swung open by Aizawa-sensei. There stood their teacher, wrapped from head to toe in bandages with one arm in a sling. What? He asked, almost as if he was offended. You really think a little mental trauma, scarring, broken nose and a broken arm would hold me down? You're learning to be heroes, the only injury that will ever warrant you truly needing time off is 2 broken legs. Now, this'll be your one class today, but starting tomorrow and for 2 weeks on, it'll be nothing but training for the upcoming sports festival. Yes, we have been through a traumatic experience, but heroes do not believe in excuses. This will show not only the civilians and villains, but pros who will scout you that you are not backing down. However, if you are not comfortable with competing this year, there is no shame in bowing out. In lieu of the USJ attack however, the HPSC and principal have decided that as of today, in order to protect your identities, all UA students shall all be referred to by your hero names. Which leads to my specialty. All eyes turn to see the DMNTRX Style 18 only heroine, Midnight, aka Narumi Kayama sauntering in. She was one of the most appealing women in Japan and despite her theme and name, a very beloved and respected heroine, unless you were Mount Lady. Mineta and Kaminari were already salivating over her, and Toru and Momo let out fangirl squeals. Izuku however, he just looked at her as if she was another teacher. Dude? Mineta hollered. Why do you look so indifferent? That's. I know who Midnight Sensei is, Mineta. A grand hero and lovely woman. So how the hell are you not? My mom is a model, remember? That and my sister works in rehab and one of them is. Izuku started but paused when he remembered only Hitoshi for sure remembered Angeldust being a PWN star, never mind Vaggie's in-life job. Luckily, he was saved from embarrassment when Midnight slammed her CRP onto the floor and began to get the attention of her students. And therein laid Izuku's greatest challenge yet, not talking to his crush, not stepping up as class president, not even surviving encounters with Alastor and other overlords. No, his greatest challenge was choosing a primary hero name. Before meeting his father and Charlie, he had dreamed of being known as All Might Jr. in his fanboy obsession. That wouldn't work now and he looked back on those memories with sadness. On the other hand, thanks to Charlie, Izuku already had his title, the Redemption Hero. After that, he was initially thinking of Dante. After all, he was a half-demon like Dante's Sparta from Devil May Cry and of course, Dante's Inferno was the most recognizable literature about his second home. But when Mina's hero name of Alien Queen was denied due to being copyrighted? She's a queen in your mind, though. That cumbersome voice mused. Izuku shook his head, seemingly silencing the voice and going over his potential choices. If copyright was something to consider, that eliminated Hellstorm, Azrael and Tartarus. Hellfire Hero, Astaroth was also out, solely due to Endeavor's quirk name being Hellfire. Izuku would rather not risk being sued over that. Plus, the citizens of Hell would loathe him for taking an angelic name for his hero title. The Infernal Hero, Caltrix and Trihexa or Morningstar were strong possibilities, but then Izuku realized that Trihexa meant the number of the beast, 666, and can that one. Infernal sounded too villainous and would no doubt be rejected. Morningstar reminded him of his father, so. No. Dis and Abyss? Too negative sounding, plus the first one sounded more like slang to most people and Izuku would rather not have to constantly explain why he chose it. Green Envy. Envy alone sounded villainous. Gehinnom, Sharon and Mundus sounded too alien. Paragon sounded too goody-goody and honestly, kind of boring. Abrix's was a strong contender, but Izuku turned it down when he realized it applied to great creators. So far, his quirk had shown no such powers beyond the flames he wielded. In that sense, it didn't really make sense. Nephilim was almost the winner and it made sense. Nephilim were the children of angels and demons, stuck between the 2 or 3 realms. There were enough tales of heroic Nephilim that would ensure people got it. But in the end, Izuku chose a different name, one that fit him very well. The Redeeming Hero, Robertus. Izuku showcased. Interesting and excellent choice. Midnight smiled. Paying tribute to the legend of Robert the Devil, I see. Izuku nodded. Oh, if you only knew the truth. Izuku mused. The bell suddenly rang, dismissing everyone for the day. One more thing. Aizawa said as everyone began to leave for their next class. In the wake of the USJ attack, a Parents' Day has been brought together for tomorrow. Your parents have been notified, and there must be some contact. We will accept over the phone. Izuku tensed at this. Tomorrow. That was the anniversary of his conceivement. The day Inko went to therapy. She loved him and never blamed him for what happened, but what had happened to her that night kept her up. Oh boy. Well, one bad mark was nothing too bad. Izuku was brought out of his thoughts when he realized everyone was on edge and confused. He then saw that the door was blocked by other students, who were glaring at Class 1A. Izuku's anger for this was dampened when he felt the source of what had almost completely healed him. The single biggest envy kanji decorated to form this bakugou 2.0. Oh, you and Leviathan are going to get along swimmingly. Izuku said bluntly, getting the attention of all. Excuse me? Monoma asked as Izuku got up in his face. Oh sorry. You reminded me of a lady my dad works with. A spoiled, greedy, materialistic, never takes responsibility, somehow manages to rule over others like her. Monoma spluttered and tried to come up with a response, but Izuku, disgusted at the blonde's pettiness, cut him off. Please, I understand you want to see and measure us up after what happened, but we're all kind of in a hurry and last I checked, I don't think I met with your class prez yet, Hitoshi, did we? Nah, not yet. Hitoshi said. She heard you got hurt and wanted to wait until you were healed up. Which he is not. Ochako and Kirishima hurriedly added, pointing at his bandages. Hi, sorry I'm late. A cute orange-haired girl called out as she came in, only to skid to a halt. Oh dear lord, Ida. Why didn't you stop them? Well, how was I supposed to know? The glasses-wearing boy, now identified as Ida, noted. It's Monoma. She hollered in annoyance before she took a deep breath and walked over to Izuku, grimacing at the bandages she could make out on his form. I am so sorry. For whatever they said or did. She then shot a look at her classmates, most of whom looked down in shame. Still her face was not full of anger or full-on disappointment. No, it was as if she was silently saying, you guys can be better, so try again. Izuku had seen this face many times before, on a certain princess determined to redeem the worst of the worst. Seeing a lot of his sister in this girl, our hero decided to be the bigger man. How about we start over? Izukumidoriya magna. Izuku smiled brightly, which, if they were not already, made almost everyone in Class 1B feel like jerks. Itsuka Kendo. The girls smiled as they shook hands. Sadly, the loudmouth blonde was not one of the apologetic ones. Wait a sec. Ida. Isn't he the loudmouth at the selection exam? Well yes. Ida realized. But I fail to see what that has to do with any. Ha. So. Not only is he the leader of these attention hoggers, but he messed up our beloved vice president's chances to be in Class 1A. That is hardly what happened. Ida sighed. If anything, I almost messed up his chances, I blew a minuscule thing out of proportion. And then a rare sight occurred, Izuku frowned. So, you don't deny it. Ha. Izuku sighed. I've heard far worse in my life. You'll have to try harder. Monoma, insulted by this, grabbed Izuku's jacket and pulled it off, revealing Izuku's bandaged arms and some of the ones of his chest. I bet these are all for show. As he'd done that, Izuku, shocked and embarrassed, had unintentionally lost control of his transformation. He now stood in his demon form, and the bandages had been burnt away, revealing the scars Fizzaroli left. Said scars were now faded white instead of red, but their outline stood out from Izuku's demonized chalk skin. All jaws dropped, as did the temperature, and in Monoma's case, the lights dimmed. Monoma Nito. All Might, suddenly appearing, dangerously said. I'll be informing the principal of this transgression. You do realize that this is in violation of UA's zero tolerance to bullying, correct? What? You did read the syllabus, right? All Might asked, worry in his tone. My butler did. The loudmouth replied. Oh, your butler did. Mineta said sarcastically. What, does your butler also teach you basic human decency? The Class 1A students looked at Mineta as if he had grown another head. What? Just because I'm a pervert doesn't mean I don't have common decency. The grape-haired midget said. Our class president almost dies keeping us safe and this spoiled rich kid, no offense, Yaoyorozu. None taken, please continue. Momo said. Starts coming in and causing trouble. Not cool dude. Mineta beamed as he crossed his arms, content he had made his point. Just for that. I will not hit you today. Izuku said. Oh yeah, Izuku. He also did try and stop the remaining villains from going after us. Toru added. Unfortunately, before Izuku could process that, possibly even consider the idea of maybe becoming sociable with the shortest student in his class, Monoma's foot met his mouth. Oh, the rest? Does that mean, you didn't take out all of them? When did I say I did? Izuku asked, more annoyed than anything. He then paused in thought and looked to his classmates. Wait, did I ever? No. Hitoshi said bluntly. Nope. Kirishima followed. Nah. Mina and Ochako continued. Never. Shoto added. Not once. Kyoka smirked. That's all his delusion. Fumikage concluded. Monoma. All Might warned. The blonde then realized what he was doing and composed himself. Well, I can tell when we. You. Kendo and Ida corrected, but went ignored. Are not wanted, so I will say this much, enjoy your time in the spotlight, come the sports fest, your 15 minutes of fame will be done. He then sauntered away, haughtiness clear in each step and his nose held high. There is something wrong with that guy. Tsuyu mused, everyone nodding in agreement. With that, introductions began improper, if a bit awkwardly. Kirishima hit it off with Testu, and Kendo and Ida saw no problems with Izuku and Hitoshi. Off to the side though, a certain vine-haired girl gave Izuku an unsure look. Izuku was watching a rerun of the All Might animated series when his phone vibrated. Aizu. His sister beamed. How are you doing? Excited? Anxious? Bloodthirsty? This immediately put our hero on the defensive. Charlie. You never call me Aizu. What happened? Well. The Princess of Hell tried to put this as delicately as possible. The Eldritchs and Dad came by and well, long story short. Vaggie suddenly cut in, screaming. Angel and Husk bet the hotel on you making the finals of the sports fest. Izuku's world went silent. Oh. Oh no. Oh dear. We were drunk, is that wrong? Angeldust asked. This is why I said no bar or alcohol. Vaggie roared. Sorry kid, gambling took over me, Husk admitted, some genuine shame in his tone. He liked the kid, he really did. But when he saw the potential payout and his volunteering, getting a pay raise as well as being part of Hell's history. I convinced them to make the bet, by the by. The unmistakable voice of the radio demon beamed. Why would you do that? Izuku snapped, rare bout of sheer rage overtaking his form. Because my boy, your story is beginning to lag. Yes, you had your first true battle and victory, but as stated before, the story now has to lag so you and listeners can catch your breath. That's no fun. The people of Hell need constant stimuli, action and passion. Besides, on the note of passion, while I may now be honor-bound to protect the hotel and I shall when the time comes if Charlotte cannot. Izuku smiled a bit, happy his benefactor shared his belief Charlie would fix this. I need some entertainment of my own. I want to see you, on your grandest of highs, reach such a limit or consequence that'll show not only the listeners, but myself if you truly do and will live up to your dream, or tumble down into despair at such a colossal failure. Alastor beamed, knowing that with this revelation, Izuku lost respect for the radio demon. Charlie took the phone back. No pressure. She assured her brother. You understand me? Just do your best and focus on the sports fest. I'll figure this out. But Nei-san. Izuku started. I know. She said. I know. But please, this is your dream on the line. Don't suffer for me. You did for me. Izuku reminded her. And I'd do it again. As will I. Charlie, knowing and adoring the fact her brother was willing to help her, simply wished him luck and confirmed their plans to meet after school on Friday, when Izuku would spend the weekend. Inko's voice suddenly cut in. Izuku? What's wrong? Izuku, his mind overwhelmed with not only the dire status of VERYYYY Hotel but the upcoming event and the drama of the next day, told her everything. Inko was distraught and worried, but then reached for her phone, only to be stopped by her son. I'm fine with an F if it means you heal. Tears welled up in the mother's eyes as she and her son hugged. What did I do to deserve such a good son? You raised and loved me. Izuku replied. From hell, as many citizens wept at the mother and son moment, a few even asking why their parents couldn't have been like Inko, Lucifer sat postulating on his throne. His son would get a poor grade just because one of his parents could not show up for this, quite frankly, last-minute shindig. Oh no. No, this would not stand. No child of his, no matter how naive they were, was going to suffer a poor grade because of this. As the saying goes, want something done right? Do it yourself. But therein also lay the problem, Lucifer could not leave hell. And while possession was as easy to him as snorting his nose, his soul was so corrupt and powerful, no one was strong enough to stay in one place for him to use for more than a few minutes. Wait. There was one man within distance to Izuku. And doing so would help shake things up. Oh, the chaos and swift changes this would bring. With that, an evil smile overtook his face as his mind was made up. Lily pad? I'm going upward for a few hours. Lucifer beamed. Want me to bring you back anything? I'll trust you, darling. Lilith said. Have a good time making the heroes look incompetent. Oh ho ho. I most certainly will. The parent-teacher meetings had been going smoothly. Izuku found himself not caring at all about the lack of his parents when his classmates introduced him to their families, most of whom were grateful for him defending them, especially Hitoshi's parents. Their son had never had friends before and Izuku was a great first. Endeavor on the other hand, glared at him the whole time, as if measuring him up. Izuku decided to stay closer to his classmates after Shoto had discreetly pushed him away. The green-haired boy had explained why his mother was not here, when suddenly a loud vroom and screech was heard. All eyes turned to see a limo outside. One Izuku knew very well. Oh, Izuku thought. From the limo emerged a long red carpet, and out popped several imps, all playing instruments as they sang. Mr. Magna, Mr. Magna. The original hieratic. Mr. Magna, Mr. Magna. Everybody give a cheer. He's handsome, ruthless, and so smart, he barely can restrain it. With so much egomania, there is no way to contain it, to contain it, to contain, to contain, to contain. Despite the obvious confusion, many were bobbing along with the song. Mr. Magna, Mr. Magna. He's the one that you're about to meet. Mr. Magna, Mr. Magna. He's the genius who just can't be beat. The trickster and the swindling whiz, the best darn dad who ever lived, Mr. Magna, here he is. The red carpet stood, unraveling to reveal a throne, with no one on it. Loud clapping filled the air. Bravo! Sensational! Excellent, if I was 6. Lucifer bellowed. You call that an introductory song? Where was the dread? The suspense? The imps all whimpered and began to clean up. So hard to find good help these days. Lucifer grimaced. May we help you? Nizu asked. Yes, I'm here for the PTA meeting. Lucifer beamed, patting Nizu's head. Why weren't you on the throne? Mike asked. Well, you can't exactly enjoy the show if you're not part of it, can you? The figure said as he removed his top hat and gave a bow. Oh, where are my manners? Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth. He then rose his head up, delighting in the reactions when the other parents, teachers and heroes saw his horns. And taste. The man let out a chuckle as he plopped his hat back on. I've always wanted to use that song in a conversation. Oh well, enough about me. Izuku, my dear son. Do come and give Daddy a hug. And then came another shocking sight, one that would forever burn in the memories of the attendants, izukumidoriya, the kindest boy in Class 1A. The hero of the USJ. He glared at this man. Endeavor suddenly stepped forward. Who are? He started, only to be silenced when Lucifer glared at him before saying, cryptically. 5 months, 14 days. What? Endeavor asked. By your son. Good day. Lucifer smirked as he marched along, stopping and gasping when he saw his target. Izuku, my boy. What are you doing here? Izuku asked through his teeth. Well, I am your father. Lucifer started. You never came to anything before. Fair enough. Lucifer pointed out, then leaned in to whisper into his son's ear. But in my defense, there was no one I could possess in the areas. That made Izuku tense in fear. Who could his father have possibly? Never mind that. I'll ask again. What are you doing here, Dad? Well, your mother has therapy tonight. You're the reason for that. And I figured I could come in her stead. Lucifer explained as he made himself a plate. Especially considering what happened. Fine. Now leave. Izuku demanded. Lucifer chuckled. What an attitude. Surely, she taught you better. Izuku grit his teeth in anger, letting his demon form manifest. Ah. Much better. The king of hell mused, messing with his youngest's hair before he turned his attention to Aizawa. So, how is teaching my son treating you? And please be honest. I understand he helped save several of his classmates at that unfortunate incident, as well as yourself. And Izuku? Let me speak with the nice people here, or the hotel goes bye-bye. Izuku clenched his fist and walked away, going to the snack table and leaving his teacher with his father. Well, Mr. Eraserhead? Do tell me about my boy. To be honest, Mr. Midoriya. Aizawa began. Magna. Lucifer corrected. Lucifer Magna. Continue. Your son's a problem child, don't get me wrong, but he has talent, courage, and skill. He's also not afraid to throw himself in harm's way if it means protecting others. Lucifer smiled. There, you heard. Now, please leave. Izuku begged. But I just got here. Lucifer frowned playfully. We have so much catching up to do. If nothing else, I was hoping to perhaps meet the parents of some of your class. Izuku stood firm. What are you really doing here? You told me that until I was something worthwhile. Ah, yes I did. Lucifer smiled, not at all caring what the others thought. Well, you're getting there, and with that bet we made with Charlotte, I wagered I could throw you a bone, I think you kids say. Besides, you're too smart to get a bad grade just because Inko was indisposed, that and I get to make things more interesting. Izuku kept up his glare. Well, I've done what I came for. Lucifer tipped his hat and messes with Izuku's hair before handing his son an oil sack filled with gold coins. Buy something nice. I might see you this weekend. He then turned and began to return to his limo, just as an idea came to his son. What if I win? The devil paused in his step, but his face remained the same, a bored smirk on his face. I beg pardon. Charliemorningstar told me about the bet you made. Izuku explained. How the hotel will go under if I don't last all the way. What would you be willing to do if I won the sports festival in 2 weeks? Lucifer smiled. Hook, line and sinker. You do that my boy, and you'd be the talk of hell. You didn't answer me. Izuku smiles. Well, I presume you'd want me to leave the hotel alone. Make sure it becomes part of the afterlife. Would you? Perhaps. But of course, you may not win the sports festival. What will you do for me if that happens? Izuku sighed, having expected this. There really was only one choice. I'll become you so desperately want. But you already are. Lucifer chuckled. Still, I understand what you mean, but, no. Instead, should you neither make it to the finals or win the sports festival, you will leave UA and find another way to become a hero. No school. No aid. Just you against the world. Do you accept? That's straight-up vigilantism. Aizawa roared, having heard the whole thing along with several other teachers and parents. You can't. Oh, I'm sorry, are you Izuku's father? Lucifer pointed out. No. I am. Besides, some consequences will teach Izuku how the world works. Izuku sighed, knowing there was no other way out of this. Then a thought occurred to him. A thought he knew Charlie would be disappointed in him for, but Alastor would be delighted with. So Dad, does this mean we have a deal? Izuku smiled, his hand outreached and coated in green flames. Lucifer smiled at this, the hints of pride in his eyes. Deal. The King of Hell smirked. If you actually win the sports festival, I'll not only do as I said, I'll also let Charlie and them come up and visit whenever they wish and ensure that your powers came in full for your next birthday present. Maybe even give you a territory in Pentagram City, if you're entertaining enough. No. Izuku said. Make the hotel permanent. The pride dimmed slightly, but Lucifer shook hands with his son before tipping his hat. I'd best be getting back now. Good luck, sonny boy. And All Might? Do enjoy this parting gift. TTFN, Tada for now. He then vanished in a spiral of flames, leaving in his place a man in a suit. However, this man was lacking the top half of his face and was gasping for air before he collapsed on the ground. All for one. All Might roared in anger. The next day was a dreary one. With the sports festival coming up, regular classes were suspended, allowing students to focus on training. This was to be their public debut after all, so it made sense to get their quirks and skills up to par as high as possible. And then, right after lunch, the voice came back. Thinking about Katsuki-e. How he went on and on about standing out. Well. Tough SHT for him. But here. You could be him, popular, beloved, and the best part. Anything you could do is just training. So, go ahead, curse. Crush. In fact, there are so many you could do that too, that scarred kid, the great midget. They have no place here, or in the same room as you, so, for the love of Inko, if nothing else, stop. Holding. Back. Make them fear and adore the name Izuku Daiki Briner Midoriya Magna. The future, one and only true hero. Izuku clenched his fists, and a green flame began to cover his form. He didn't care he was in demon form now, the voice seemed to leave it that was all that mattered, especially when he found his classmates looking at him in worry. Evidently, word of the deal he had made with his father traveled very quickly. Morning. He said weakly. Instantly, his classmates rushed to him. What the heck were you thinking? Ochako demanded. Why the hell would you take such a deal? Hitoshi followed up. Manly as it is to do that for your sis, it ain't manly to just keel over to that prick, even if he is your dad. Kirishima added, even tough he found himself not fully agreeing with those words. My family knows lawyers who can nip this in the butt. Say the word. Momo offered. Money is no object. You're way too cool and strong to quit. Besides, who'll tutor us? Kaminari added, only to get slapped by Kyoka. Read the room, moron. Your sister single? Mineta asked. All worry stopped as everyone glared at Mineta. It's a reasonable question. The shortest student retorted before he saw Izuku growl at him, his fists igniting. Aizawa then walked in and pulled Izuku aside. Midoriya. What you said and did, I don't know what your relationship with your father is, but, I can't, I'm both beyond pissed and proud. The teacher downed his juice box, somewhat finding his words. Midoriya. You already have a target on your pack from the USJ. If you do follow with your deal with your father and fail, the pros will be on you faster than, is there anyway? I won't have a choice but to become a vigilante. By the time my dad is done doing his business here, I won't be able to get a job as a dump truck driver. Izuku sighed before he turned to his classmates. With all that in mind, don't any of you go easy on me. I may want to be a hero, but so do all of you. And while it may be earlier to say it, let me say, it was an honor being your student and I wish everyone in this room luck in trying to apprehend me during my vigilante career. Izuku said. The other students fought back tears in their eyes from their president's words before saluting him and letting Aizawa take over. These next few days are all about training. Find out where you lack and overcome your limits. Work together and on your own. Izuku already knew where to start. You want my help? Ojiro asked, getting a nod from Izuku. With fighting? Another nod was his answer. Press, all due respect, I doubt I can teach you anything. Ojiro said, I mean, you took down Nomu and that weird robot jester just fine. I relied on my quirk and instinct. Izuku replied, looking down at his feet. I was trained in Krav Maga, but I don't use it. You use martial arts as easy as breathing. Please, Ojiro. Ojiro smiled. Anyone tell you have a face that can't be said no to? He smirked. My sister, Mom, my sister's girlfriend. Izuku started only to doggy a tale from Ojiro. Wait a sec. Izuku then dashed over and pulled out some manacles he placed on his wrists and ankles. Quirk suppressors. Izuku explained before Ojiro renewed his charge. Soon, the two forget everything else, being so absorbed in their spar they failed to notice the growing audience, who most certainly did not complain when, still mid-fight, the two boys took off their shirts. This needs popcorn. Immediately. Toru grinned. Preach. Tsuyu smiled. At the hotel. Husk smirked as he sipped at his drink, memories of sparring with his buddies in Nam coming back to him. This next one should be good. Alastor mused when he saw Izuku was going to see next. Fumikage, can we talk? Izuku asked as they left for the day. The crow-headed boy eagerly listened to Izuku. So, you believe Yukurik might be partially sentient and came Yumi for aid? He got a nod. Spend tomorrow with me. Meditating will help, but the process will not be immediate. The next day, Izuku and Fumikage spent their time meditating, focusing deep within themselves. Well, Izuku did, this was as easy for the crow boy as breathing. On the third day, Izuku finally came to what manga readers would call his inner world. This is not what I was expecting. Izuku's mental world was a replication of the apartment complex he and Inko called home, only in more hellish colors of dark purple, orange fire, and bits of green sprinkled in. The closest thing to a hellish image were all the burning Lucifer scarecrows or the bakugou dartboards. Even those were tame. Then the rumbling came. So you finally show up. And here he was, the inner demon. A child-sized version of his demon state, with a noticeably larger, male organ but otherwise, underwhelming. And judging from the scared look on his face, overwhelmed by Izuku. Hi. The demon suddenly screamed and rushed back inside. Hell's citizens were both feeling let down and grateful. The strangest bit was when, at lunch, Shoto Todoroki sat down beside Izuku and Hitoshi. I understand you have a terrible father as well. He started suddenly. It was either this or declare war on Izuku, and after what his father had told him about Mr. Magna, Shoto decided to put aside the war declaration aside. Izuku and Hitoshi did not know how to react to this, but the demonic boy nodded in agreement. I'm guessing. Izuku started. Yes. You didn't let him finish. Hitoshi noted. Unless the next world was in relation to doting, he didn't have to. While my old man is number 2 hero, his skills do not carry over into parenting. Still must be somewhat better than my dad. Izuku mused. My dad has like 60 plus kids and only pays attention to my sister, who he calls a failure. My father also sees Fuyumi as a failure. Shoto mused. I don't think he even knows about Natsuo. Ouch. Hitoshi grimaced, some unwanted memories coming up. Still, you got us beat in terms of training, right? No doubt. My father started training me when I was 3. The 2 other boys grimaced. Only met my dad once before the PTA meeting. I was 4 and he said that until I proved I was worth something, the most he'd do was pay child support. Izuku recalled. At least you got support. Shoto followed. The second mom was flung into that mental hospital, my father made the HPSC pay for it. My dad steals from the Vatican treasury. Izuku recalled. Repeatedly, apparently. My father doesn't allow anything not related to heroism into the house. Shoto replied, all tough. This confession from Izuku got his attention. My old man made me wear muzzle until I was 8. Hitoshi added his own 2 cents in. Oh. Izuku added. I think that trumps ours. Shoto added. A moment of silence before a thought came to the two-toned boy. Wait. Did we all just bond over our horrid relationships with our fathers? I think we did. Izuku realized. In hell. Deadbeat dad buddies. Angel, Blitzo and surprisingly, Alastor cheered. UA lunchroom. With quiet smiles, the trio began to eat their lunch. A series of giggles briefly got their attention. Is it really that odd to enjoy cold soba? Shota asked. No, I've heard that kind of laugh before. Izuku assured the two-toned boy. The girls are just enjoying the eye candy. Eye candy? Shoto asked again, still confused. Well, you're the most handsome guy in the class and Izuku is cute while I look like sensei if he were 20 years older, more rested and dyed my hair. Hitoshi mused. Personally, I prefer a me of yellow in hair color. He then paused, gagging on his drink when he realized what he had just said. Denki, huh? Izuku smiled happily. Yeah, I know. Hitoshi sighed. I know he's not the brightest bulb in the red light district. Why would you use that as a... Izuku started. At the hotel. Okay, I'm interested. Vaggie and Angel muse together. UA lunchroom. But I like his confidence and his smile brightens up a room. Hitoshi added. And I'm guessing you like Mina for similar reasons? Izuku blushed. Yeah. He confessed, keeping it to himself that thanks to his time in hell, he found most girls plain unless they had an eye-catching color or some kind of devil-like quality. That and he loved how Mina seemed to dance as she moved, her eyes reminded him of the setting sun, and her adorable laugh. I don't know if I like anyone that way. Shoto confessed. Is that wrong? No, not all. Izuku and Hitoshi both assured the Todoroki boy before their moods conaged. Least you got a chance. Hitoshi mused. Everyone'll think whoever I end up with was brainwashed. What are their names? Shoto and Izuku said together. Why do you want to know? We just want to talk them. Shoto assured the blue-haired boy, not seeing steam coming from his right side. And Toshi? At least you and Shoto are normal good-looking. With my horns, fangs, claws and, well. I happen to think you look regal and majestic, if that helps. Shoto said. And, maybe I am unversed in these matters, but I notice Ashido and Kaminari already like you too as people. You have a chance. And thus began the awkward yet endearing friendship of Izukumidoriya, Hitoshi Shinsho Shoto Todoroki. Off to the side, Kyoka smiled knowingly. well? Toru and Mina hurriedly asked. Good, bad and shocking news. The earjack girl smiled. Bad news, Todoroki doesn't know what romance is. The girls frowned at this. Shocking, pun not intended, news, Hitoshi likes jamming way. The girls rose their eyebrows in shock and some mild confusion before squealing. And the good news, Izuku likes Mina. All the girls squealed, except Mina, who stood there frozen. Izuku, the class president, liked her. She was taken aback, but happy, and in a mix of other emotions. She'd had male friends before and knew she was straight, although she had stared at Momo and Midnight once or twice, but she had never actually dated anyone. She teased the heck out of her classmates and friends, but... She screamed, rushing to her best friend suddenly. Mina needs help. Ichiro found himself being pulled away by his best friend, not entirely sure what was going on. Agents 1 and 2 were now well enough to speak, but their limbs were in casts and 2's face was decorated with band-aids. We get a phone call. 1 asked, getting no reply. The pros had been busy the past few days, dealing with the sudden drop-off. All for 1, disassembling his empire and investigating the being that had claimed to be Izuku's father, which was coming up empty and adding to their worry. If anything else, the 2 DHORKs were bored. So when a bright light erupted and they saw 3 child-sized beings flying towards them, they were thankful. Be not afraid, we're cherubs. The most human-looking one said with a bright smile, then fell. At least we were. The yellow she-sheep cherub hugged the human-looking one as she took over. We're here to not only offer you a blessing on your righteous mission of saving the world, but the blessing of your fallen owlies. She lied, although her intentions were in line with this. Colin. The black sheep flew over and gently touched the 2 agents, who suddenly found themselves fully healed. So, you want to help us capture the demon prince? 2 asked, getting nods. That's going to be tricky, with the sports fest and all. Oh, we have our own ways. The human-looking cherub mused. Thank you again, Shiozaki. The vine-haired 1B student simply bowed and then turned to pray that she had done the right thing, as much as she wanted to think that Izuku was not affiliated with his hellish father, especially if the bet she had heard of was true. She knew something had to be done. What better way than to aid the forces of heaven? None of them seemed to notice the black sheep cherub wasn't joining in the laughter. If anything, Colin looked guilty. The cherubs were not the only heavenly-born beings wanting to see Izuku taken out. Chuckling in exactment, the exorcist waited at the stadium, sharpening their holy spear. It had been a few months, but now the moment was perfect. The world would be watching as the demon prince tried to convince them to allow him to protect them. And when it struck and slew him, the world, as corrupted as it was, would remember of the greatest power, God, and those followed him. The exorcist would no doubt get into some trouble for leaving heaven, but to slay an actual child of Lucifer? The archangels would be sure to see where they had been coming from and give it a light sentence. Even some in hell were aiming for the young prince. Before Lucifer had educated her, Stella had copied a page from her ex-husband's grimoire and given it to her assassin. The plan had been for him to follow Stolas on one of his jaunts and kill him then and there. But Stryker had instead used it to get to Earth and made his way to Japan. Sure, it had cost him the hit of Octavia from Vox. The Owlette had apparently turned down a deal to make a book about her parents spilt up, plus the TV demon wanted to hurt Alastor's main source of fame, but this was quickly rendered moot when he was suddenly receiving offers from other demons to make sure Izuku never survived beyond his first fight. It hadn't been nearly as hard as he had expected. He was chalked up as a mutation-type quirk user and some fella named Jiren gave him fake IDs in exchange for a holy bullet. A small price to pay, and it made enough money to live decently. Now, at the sports festival stadium, he too readied for what would assure his reputation as the greatest hell-born hired killer, taking out an heir to the throne. After this, he figured he'd try his hand at Princess Charlotte or maybe give IMP a visit and finish his little brawl with Blitzo and his time with Moxie. Little did the imp know that this would be his final job under contracts from hell. Soon enough, the day of the sports festival arrived. Having not slept well but wanting all the support he could get, Izuku had popped over for a quick breakfast at the hotel. His sister was already waiting for him, a spread of all his favorites on the table and a worried smile on her face. The others stood off to the side at Charlie's request. "Charlie-san," he said, breaking the uncomfortable silence that had filled the room. "I might snap today. I know. Just do your best and be safe." Charlie cut him off, barely having touched her own food. "But the hoe." Izuku started, only for Charlie to race over and put her hands on his shoulders. "The hotel and what it represents can be redone. With or without Dad." The Princess of Hell shouted, her face then erupting into sadness. "But I can't get a replacement, Izuku." Izuku, feeling tears in his eyes before hugging his sister. "If I win." Izuku started. I know. But this? UA's sports festival. That was your dream. You've supported me with mine. Now it's my turn." Charlie finished, wiping her brother's tears. "So, as your big sister, I am ordering you to have fun and not push yourself. Regardless of what happens, we'll manage." Damning the consequences, Vaggie joined in the hug, messing with Izuku's hair. Angel, Niffty and Cherry gave the boy a thumbs up. "Can I get in on this?" Izuku gave Alastor his own hug, shocking the radio demon, but he made no attempt to escape it. "Arigato for everything, sensei." Alastor blushed and messed with Izuku's hair himself, a softer smile on his face. "If any of you breathe a word of this, I will cannibalize you," Alastor declared. Ignoring all the coups. Back at the Midoriya apartment. Popping back to the apartment, Izuku hugged his mother tightly. "I'll be watching every second and record everything," Inko promised. "But please, be careful." "I will, Mom." Izuku promised as he summoned a portal and stepped through, but not before he squeezed in one last hug. "Arigato." He then leapt inwards, landing in the 1A locker room. Inko wiped the tears of pride from her eyes and settled in to watch the festival, when she heard a knock at the door. Surprised, she opened it. "Inko Midoriya. You're to come with us. And now, a sneak peek to whet your appetite." Inko felt so out of place in the stands. Sure, Mitsuki and Masaru were with her, but she felt a little overwhelmed at the two Americans bodyguarding her. Fraternal twins with red skin and one stone hand, the male's more bulk than his sister's while said sister's glowed of blue fire. They both had what looked like goggles on their foreheads, but if one looked closer, they could see they were filed down horns, which matched with their cloven feet. The male had a soul patch and a half-bald head of black hair while his sister had long brown hair. To complete their look, they both wore a leather jacket with Holstead guns visible, along with their licenses. Ranma and Selma Broom-Sherman had pulled up to her apartment mere moments after Izuku had left, identifying themselves as members of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, a more recognized, organized, and respected organization compared to those dorks that had tried to harm her son. They claimed they were sent to protect her out of concern for her connection to Lucifer, and while Inko was sure that was the case, she could also tell they wanted to make sure her baby boy didn't have to worry something would happen to her. Speaking of said baby boy, Izuku had nearly fallen off the podium when he made her out in the crowd after he had given the athlete's oath. So cute. Magna. The other, true, Princess of Hell smirked at her rival. "See, you're still addicted to Disney SHT. Eldritch." Charlie snarled before smirking. "See, you're still accessorizing to cover your ugliness." The other hotel patrons were shocked to hear such words from Charlie. Well, all except for Vaggie, who seemed distracted by angry Charlie and Octavia, who was already munching on popcorn and looking forward to another brawl between the two. "Good morning, Mufasta, heroes and civilians alike." Mick's voice boomed over the intercom. "The Aeon, welcome to the UA Sports Festival. This is the event you've all been waiting for, when kids become true heroes in training, sidekicks are spotted, plus Ultra truly comes forth and shakes us all to our core. Must you be so loud? Eraserhead groaned. Part of the charm, and you know you love it, Mr. Grumpy Kitty. This festival is going to be different. His friend continued. In lieu of the attack by the so-called League of Villains, for the first time since the school's founding, students will be in their hero costumes as a means of protecting their identities. Or, if in the case they don't wear masks, merely showcasing equality between the classes and hopefully encouraged camaraderie. Vlad, look at you. I can't believe we're allowed to wear our costumes. This is amazing. Mina gushed excitedly as Class 1A awaited their call. Are you sure it's wise? Won't our costumes give us certain advantages? Ujiro pointed out. I don't see how my costume will give me anything. Minoru noted as he looked his outfit over. All I got is a diaper. And a cape. And not even a dazzling one, mousewear. Aoyama shook her head. Besides, only Mademoiselle Kyuka and Monsieur Sato's costumes offer them aid. Unless there are animals involved at any point of these games. I'm not standing out. Kuji remarked. What about my encyclopedia? Momo asked. The one that accentuates that fine B. Denki started. Denki, I do not play on favorites, I will slap you along with my netta. The class president offhandedly said as he looked over his costume, a green bodysuit with All Might-like hair horns, and small holes for his demon form horns atop. Inko had then added some green and pink flames along the seams and a mouthpiece that looked like the spiky, smilin' grin. Man, I am starting to miss the suit, even if came from that loudmouth Monoma. He then shuddered, slapping himself. No, none of that, Izuku. This is your dream coming true. Enjoy it and be thankful Mom helped this much. Come on, Yamamo. You probably won't even need that thing. Achako mused. Besides, you all have something to aid. For some reason, they denied my grappling hook. That doesn't make much sense. Zero mused as they heard a bell go off. Whoop. Sounds like it's just about time. The class then began to hurry down the lane from which they'd make their first public appearance, only to find their class president hanging back. Aizu. Mina called out, getting his attention. You doing okay, bro? Aijiro asked. Yeah, you've been pretty quiet since yesterday. Hitoshi asked, a worried look on his face. And not just because we got your costume back. A weak smile was their answer. While Izuku's proper costume was ready, the green half-breed's mind was on the bet he made with his father, the consequences and stakes finally becoming clear to him. If he messed this up, he's be out of this school and have to vigilante. He'd become enemies with the first kids his age who treated him with unconditional kindness, the few teachers who believed in him and his potential. To make it even worse, Inko didn't know about the deal he'd made with Lucifer, so Izuku's usual self-lack of faith was also mixed with shame of not keeping his mother in the complete loop. But all was not bad. Izuku was also filled with excitement at the prospect of seeing his sister and friends without journeying to hell. And regardless of how this sports festival went, he'd never be forgotten on Earth, even if not many looked up to him. Focusing on the positive, our hero then hurried to catch up with his classmates, smiling under his mask, which somehow still warmed everyone's heart. He was ready. Until he got a good look at his competition. While only 1B was dressed in costumes and the other classes in their gym attire, the sight of so many athletically built, smirking, and in the cases of a few, literally radiating in power students made our hero second-guess himself. Oh, this was going to be trickier than he realized. If I had Charlie's singing voice, I think a song would really help. The boy mused. Robbie sweetie. It's time for the athlete's oath. Midnight announced, startling Izuku out of his thoughts. Izuku smiled. Midnight had helped in the rescue of his mother when she was captured by those cultists and first met his father. Heck, she was the one who was made godmother at Auntie Mitsuki's insistence. Oh right, she and Uncle Masa had scored tickets to the sports festival. Now he had to do good and had the incentive to do so. Stepping up to the podium is the hero of the aforementioned attack, who not only got his fellow students and teacher to safety but managed to successfully defeat not one, but two, read that, 2 A-rank villains. Mike announced. And nearly died doing so. Eraserhead added. Last check from Recovery Girl said he just barely makes participation, regardless of how much he's progressed in the week of training. Mike then stole back the mic. Give it up for the one. The only. Redeeming hero, Robertus. Mike hollered. Show. Nem. He okay with that name? Kind of odd. It's intellectual and classy. Midnight snapped, she was a little defensive of the names student made up under her in general, any bad ideas that she okayed reflected off of her. Sides, he can change it later. Eraserhead retorted. Our hero didn't hear any of this quas he walked up the stairs, the realization of this was real dawning onto him. Take that, Aldria and Katsuki. Izuku inwardly noted. I'm giving the oh dear lord OW. I'm giving a speech. Why? Why? What do I say? What do I say? And now he was at podium, the microphone in front of him. With a loud gulp and sweat dripping from his brow, he lowered his mask to reveal his face. The reveal that such a baby-faced boy was wearing a scary-looking costume surprised many, but his words kept their attention. Wow, well, I think I speak for everyone when I say this is a dream come true. At UA, the whole world watching, the chance to prove we can and will have the gumption to become a great hero. If my words sound dated, forgive me, my hero and mentor are old souls. But just because this is a dream come true, doesn't mean it stops here, this is just the beginning for all of us. He then spied the worried looks of Zero and his faces and decided to do something, out of yet in character for him. Now, I made a vow to someone I love that I would do amazing at this. And I aim to keep that promise, as I trust all my classmates and fellow first years and other years to do so. But, in case anyone thinks of holding back, allow me to issue one final order as class president, no matter what happens, I'll say it again, do not hold back. He let that hang before making his way back to the crowd, only for something to catch his attention. MOM. Izuku suddenly said, losing his balance and falling off the podium, rather comically as he did so. And just like that, all tension from that speech died out, a few laughs echoing from the crowd. Oh, Izuku. Inko felt so out of place in the stands. Sure, Mitsuki and Masaru were with her, but she felt a little overwhelmed at the two Americans bodyguarding her. Fraternal twins with red skin and one stone hand, the male's more bulk than his sister's while said sister's glowed of blue fire. They both had what looked like goggles on their foreheads, but if one looked closer, they could see they were filed down horns, which matched with their cloven feet. The male had a soul patch and a half-bald head of black hair while his sister had long brown hair. To complete their look, they both wore a leather jacket with Holstead guns visible, along with their licenses. Ranma and Selma Broom-Sherman had pulled up to her apartment mere moments after Izuku had left, identifying themselves as members of the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense, a more recognized, organized, and respected organization compared to those dorks that had tried to harm her son. They claimed they were sent to protect her out of concern for her connection to Lucifer, and while Inko was sure that was the case, she could also tell they wanted to make sure her baby boy didn't have to worry something would happen to her. Speaking of said baby boy, Izuku had nearly fallen off the podium when he made her out in the crowd after he had given the athlete's oath. So cute. Heh, the old man would have loved that kid. Ranma chuckled. Kind of soft, but hey, he's still a kid. Ma's got high hopes for him. Selma smirked as she checked a message on her phone. As do Al, Blaze, Blade and Constantine. Really? Her brother mused, stifling a chuckle. Well, UA may have a problem with his internships. Heck nah, just proves how awesome my nephew is. Mitsuki smirked. Meanwhile, down in hell. Magna. The other, true, princess of hell smirked at her rival. See, you're still addicted to Disney SHT. Eldritch. Charlie snarled before smirking. See, you're still accessorizing to cover your ugliness. The other hotel patrons were shocked to hear such words from Charlie. Well, all except for Vaggie, who seemed distracted by angry Charlie. Octavia was already munching on popcorn and looking forward to another brawl between the two as she sat beside Odette and Clar. Girls. Their fathers said together, and they the furthest parts of the theater, which was surprisingly full. Alastor had brought the other overlords sans the verses to listen to his radio drama of the sports festival. The overlords are elated to be away from V's screens, and thanks to Husk, were giving generous donations to the hotel through bets. Surprisingly, while they wanted to see what the boy could do, most of them really had no real problem with Izuku's heroics. No one do-gooder can put a big enough dent in our empires to harm our income. Carmilla said. Besides, minus the ones he sends to Rosie, he's keeping our indebted souls alive. BZZT. Crack. VRRT. Hello again. Alastor waved with a jaunty salute. Some clarification before we continue. As the Msri astute of you shall recall, way back in Chapter 6, I went over the various demon rankings, and mentioned A-class was the minimum ranking for Overlord. Go and check yourself. He waited patiently before resuming his speech. But what is an Overlord, one asks. Well, while most of them, the ones who count anyways, are physical and magical powerhouses, their real strength comes from souls. Oh, don't look so shocked. We are demons after all, we make deals with sinners, and in exchange for their protection under us, they serve us. His tooth smile became a regular smile. The verses, ignorant brats that they are, don't go beyond the servitude bits, but hey, you didn't come here for my ranting. Back to the story. BZZT. Crack. VRRT. Surviathan, for the love of Satan, Izuku is on earth. Mr. Eldritch annoyingly groaned at his son, who was hiding behind a pillar. I know he is, but you don't know what he can do. The male Eldritch chilled fearfully. For all we know, he's aware I'm here and already plotting something against me. He isn't. Lucifer and Charlie assured the terrified demon noble. Heck, he hasn't thought of you in months. Charlie was quick to add, making her ex weakly crawl out and sit down beside his sister, and no, but because Vaggie was leveling her spear at him. Huh, what do know? The kid can hate people besides Val. Angeldust mused with a smirk. Yes, you read right, Izukumidoriya Magna, from day one, had loathed Serapith Eldritch with very fiber of his being. Why? No one was really sure, but Lilith guessed it was because Izuku didn't trust any man to take care of the women in his life, considering he'd come to be. Ring. 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 Two different phones rang, one glowing pinky and blue while the other gold and brown. Both Lucifer and Charlie beamed at them and raced to get them. From the phones came smoke that soon became the visages of two of the deadly sins. Hey Char. Uncle L. Beelzebub beamed from gluttony as one of her parties was getting started. Thinking of you as we stref 4M the sports fest. Charlie babe. Lucy. Asmitas grinned. Looking good, little niece and brother from that failure of a pop. Just wanted to call and wish you and Izzy luck, and again, that night at the club stands for you and Vaggie. Heck, after he wins, tell Izzy he can bring that pinky gal or Octavia. Oh, for the love of. He's just a bloody friend. Octavia hollered, not at all caring that she was yelling at a deadly sin, mostly because they were family and Asmodeus always was one of the more reasonable sins. And of course Husk and Angel are welcome too. Asmodeus finished, delighting in the blush on their faces. Also, Fizzy is sleeping in, but he's really sorry about that robot and we are looking into who bought and sent it to Earth. Thank you, Uncle Ozzy. Charlie beamed. No worries on that, Oz. Lucifer smiled. Mammon is, being lectured for his role in that. That brought a smile to Asmodeus' face, more karma for how Mammon had treated his beloved Fizzy. Hey, hey. Excuse me. Beelzebub cut in. Don't go leaving me out of this. Uncle L, Daddy says hi. I say, good luck Charlie dear and Izu boy. The original Beelzebub said, then looked around nervously. Is Alastor out? Ah, hello big bird. Alastro beamed, delighting when the turkey demon screamed in fear and hid. Oh, you're still not sore over about all that nonsense, are you? Y'all used my intestines as a jump rope. Daddy. Cool. Bee handed her father something to drink, had asked Vortex to take him away from the screen. Anyways. Char. Whatever happens. Bring the gang over. Izzy and the Achako girl too. Why her? Asmodeus asked. It's clear Izzy wants to get lusty with Mina. Oh Kane, not the ship wars again. Charlie, Vaggie and Husk inwardly groaned. Angel, Niffty and Alastor just smirked along with Lilith. Because she is adorable and I want to spoil her and get her adorably Oyaji. B snapped. Oh hell. Invived his whole class. We'll sort out later. Gotta go, bye eee. Have fun, Ms. Medius. The call then ended and everyone settled in. Meanwhile, the three versus were by their lonesome together, about to watch, yes actually watch the sports festival. Vox had a mildly interested look on his face while Valentino was seething, hoping against hope he could find whatever weaknesses to exploit that little SHT who humiliated him and took his prized possession away. And not just Angel. The moth demon ranted for Timey Hole F Studio, Angel Cakes, and my pimp still haven't found everyone. Drink. Vox told his business partner. Wait. Valentino realized. Alastor's show. There's a chica he likes. Oh. Idea. Big money maker idea. Oh God, not that DC greatest shame I. Vox started, before pausing, part of him was tempted to remind Valentino not only of Lucifer's warning, but of a certain cliché often found in superhero movies, but he decided the humiliation and potential profits that could be made from what Val had in mind were far too good to pass up. Come on. Start already. Velvet pouted and pounced. Vox noted. You're uncharacteristically invested, and not just on a social media point. Well of course, you daft nerd. If his deal with dear old dad comes true, that means I'll take him on myself. Velvet beamed. After all, never send a robot to do a bad bee's job. Oh, you think too small. Valentino finally smirked his usual smirk. After taking a long drag from his cigarette. If Pepito Lucy allows the princessa and her misfits up to Earth, what's to stop others from doing so? You mean aside from patrol and magic? Vox pointed out. Nothing. But remember the brand, what'll we look like if we go after the kid and his friends? Oh, I am not letting the delusional unfavorite get in my way. Valentino snapped. Velvet however, seemed to agree with Vox and grumbled. Well, if we had our own Mortys or proxies. And then she saw her cohort smirk. Oh, you CNTS know something. Tell me. Well, there is somebody there. Valentino grinned wickedly as he recalled two mortals who he'd been keeping tabs on. And how do you think we're getting a screening from a POV? Vox smirked. Now remember, this is not a free day. What you see here will help you in the UA crush. Shinketsu Academy. UA's top rival school. Today was a special day, all classes were suspended so that they could watch the UA sports festival and learn their future adversaries' weaknesses. Katsuki Bakugou just growled. This place refused to see his awesome, and for some reason, he was at the bottom of his class, while Deku, for saving some worthless extras, got to make his speech. But be soft about it. You picked on that cutie? Cammy asked, a rare look of true anger on her face when she saw Izuku. Disgraceful. Seiji growled at his classmate. Sure, he only knew this boy from Katsuki's rants, but he had the mind and will of a true, proper hero, encouraging his yearmates and classmates alike. You're honestly no better than Endeavor. A boy by the name of Inasa Yorashi coldly said. You even have the same eyes as him too. Katsuki said nothing, focusing on Deku. Back on Earth, an embraced Izuku made his way back to his classmates, who had realized who had made him stumble. DMN, those are some MILFs right there. Denki and Mineta salivated together before the air turned cold and the two perverts found Izuku glaring at them, his form in green flames. That is my mom. And the blonde is my aunt. Izuku said between his teeth. Bam. Pow. Why you only hit me, though? Mineta whimpered. Because you can bounce right back. Izuku said. And because I don't want Hitoshi to be bogged down by his crush getting hurt. Thank you, Hitoshi mouthed to Izuku, clearly seeing what he'd done and why. Momo, Ochako, Turu and Mina all gazed at Inko and Mitsuki from afar, awestruck by their beauty and how much kindness Inko radiated. Yup, she is definitely press mom. Jiro smiked. Back at their seats, Mitsuki and Inko spied their admirers, and Mitsuki focused on one in particular. Hey, Inko. That pink one. She is the one Izzy likes. Inko nodded sheepishly, feeling somewhat embraced what she'd heard Izuku mumbling about Mina in his sleep, her setting sun eyes, bright smile, graceful dancing moves and expert skill with her acid. Oh, she's adorable. Mitsuki smiled warmly. Masa, isn't she pretty? Well, you're the only woman in my eyes, dear, but if you say she is. Masasaru smiled, making his wife blush and Inko laugh. Alright, everyone. Midnight smiled as the event wheel was spun. Let's get this show on the road. The first event we have lined up is, well, I guess you could call it a qualifier for later rounds. Let's see how many of you can beat the obstacle race. All the classes will participate. The course in question follows the outside wall of the stadium. All in all, a 4-kilometer foot race. One of UA's biggest selling points is its freedom of opportunity. Stay on the course, and don't gravely injure your fellow students, but otherwise, anything goes. Everyone ready? Midnight asked this question with a wink, flustering many who witnessed it, before turning to the gateway to the outside. Begin. And they're off. Present Mike shouted as the students rushed for the gate. Now, in many other universes, a stampede erupted from the students and poor Izuku was nearly trampled. This is not one of those universes. A streak of green flame raced past everyone and zoomed through the course, some explosions shaking and erupting the arena. Oh my god, they use landmines. Inko gasped, feeling faint before she saw her baby flying forwards towards the finish line. And in a shocking turn of events, Izukumidoriya not only achieves first place almost instantly, as well as get rid of most of the landmines, but now he goes back to help the other contestants. Mike shouted in glee, cutting through the shocked silence. Problem child will be the death of me. Aizawa groaned. You take that back. My Izuku is a treasure and should be treated as such. The same two sentences were screamed at the same time by the two most important women in Izuku's life. Inko, Inko. Climb down. Masaru begged, trying to placate his old friend. No. No, I will not. Inko roared, swinging her fist angrily at the announcer booth. My baby boy nearly died saving your life and the lives of his classmates and you call him a problem child. Hell yeah, testify, Inko. Mitsuki beamed. The Hell twins smirked at the green-haired woman / Aizawa sighed as he slammed his head into the ground out of exasperation. I'm too old for this SHT. You're not even 40. Too old. Meanwhile, down in hell. Charlie. Calm down. No. No, I will not. Shoto had raced forward and was now close, not second place. He felt bad freezing the mechs and some students, but Ijiro and that one boy got out and Mina was sliding along on the ice. If the others couldn't veg it out of this, they were unfit to be heroes. Shoto, we are going to have a talk about control later. Izuku, full demon form and green fire blazing, unleashed a torrent of flames that melted the ice and robots, but for some reason, no student is harmed. Such control over temperature. Shoto mused, his eyes then widening when the green flames suddenly became a slide for the other contestants to ride the rest of the race on to safety. And he can make solids. Shoto normally would feel jealous and angry, but he also knew dear old dad was watching and would be angry there was a boy with greater fire powers than his own. That brought a smile to the boy's face. And then he remembered dear old dad. SHT Izuku, you just made the number 2 pro an enemy. His resolve hardened when he remembered his mother. But I won't let him get to you. Back at the race, Izuku was relieved his classmates and other students were safe as he willed his flames to fly them to the finish. Durin. Mekri, press. Aoyama said as he passed, and that there was that dang odd liar kanji again. What did it mean? Before he could inquire. You must think you're so special. Monoma hissed. Helping everyone out just because you can. Well, yeah. Izuku said. That's what a hero does. Also, the whole inciting class rivalry. You and Vlad King should really try something else. Envious green really isn't your color. Despite it all, many of the pros and teachers got a laugh out of that. What an idiot. Helping will slow him down in the race. One pro said. And come on. Shouldn't some of those kids? Another started. Don't go calling hacks, people. Present Mike called out to the crowd. There's nothing in the rulebook that says students can't help each other. Hell, the fact he did just proves he's in the right field. Aizawa pointed out. Stryker cursed at the prince's speed, grateful he hadn't fired his holy bullet just yet but still annoyed his revenge was delayed / He was ready to move and try again, only to freeze when he saw something on the other side. Or rather, someone. F. The assassin cursed, then clamped his hand over his mouth, hoping that the being he'd just spied hadn't heard him. Well, well, well. A familiar voice said. Good old Stryker. Oh god damn it. IMP were there, for once not to guard Izuku, but on a legit Hewitt they'd taken care of already. We never did pay you back. 4. Millie started, cracking her knuckles. Look. Stryker managed to get them to look to where he was pointing. Oh shit. Blitzo, Moxie and Millie all said, then gagged themselves and hid. That being in question that elicited such fear in the imps. An exorcist. At Shinketsu, everyone stared in awe of Izuku's powers and heroics. And you bullied him? The students asked Katsuki, whose jaw was hanging so low it almost looked cartoonish. And with that, Mike announced. Not only do all Class 1A and 1B pass, but also supports Mei Hatsum and Chikuchi Togaike. Who? Everyone asked. She's from General Studies. Eraserhead explained. There will now be a half-hour break for everyone to catch their breath. Izuku was certain, why doing that, but the grateful smiles from his classmates and other students assured him it was all worth it. Not bad a start, he mused. Now you just had to keep it up. Midoriya. Izuku turned to see Shiozaki, motioning him over for a moment. Seeing no problem with this, Izuku made his way over to her. Hi, Shiozaki, what's up? Izuku asked. I know you're a demon. And unknown to the two, 4 heavenly beings ready to strike. Really? This is the VIP seats? Lucifer asked. Oh no, no, no. This won't do. And with a snap of his fingers, the seats turned into what any would see a Colosseum, golden and velvet seats, demons fanning and bring food. After you, my dear. Lucifer bowed to his wife. Why, thank you darling. Lilith cooed, burstful helping Inko in. Izuku, do hurry up and win this, we've all got many things to do today. Lucifer called out. Yeah, yeah. Izuku grumbled. Just do your best, sweetie. Inko called out, making her son smile. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for more crossovers. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Mrotrax on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video, till then goodbye.